Good morning. It is Tuesday, July 20th. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. And we start this morning with a question. Is Barbados currently experiencing a third wave of the coronavirus pandemic? Barbados is recording yet another spike in COVID-19 cases and new infections, close to 100 cases over the last 2 weeks. And there is a new variant present in the more transmissible Delta variant. So helping me to examine this situation and joining me live this morning is the president of the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners, Dr. Linda Williams. Good morning to you. Good to have you back on the Morning Report.
Good morning, Shane. Good to be here.
A pleasure.
How are you?
Well, we're good, but we're watching what is happening with this new spike in cases. So that's the question. Are we currently seeing a third wave in cases when we look at all of the factors now present with COVID-19 here in Barbados?
Well, determining whether or not this is a temporary elevation of cases or whether or not it's a third wave is really something that there's lots of input. We can't just make it based on the increased number. We also have to look at how many in the case, whether it's sustained over a period of time. There are many inputs into the decision as to whether or not the wave is going to continue, or the number of this is going to continue. And for that, we're in the process of doing some what we call modeling, which is a way of predicting the direction in which the case numbers are going to go. At this current time, as anyone can see, there has been a rise in the absolute number of cases, but I keep warning people against looking at each day as a discrete day. So you're looking at 40 today and then 7, and you say, okay, so therefore all is well. But if the people who were infected yesterday or the day before, they may have come into contact with other people who have not yet shown signs and symptoms, because there's an incubation period for the virus. So it's better to look at the cumulative number of cases, or the number of cases over a time period, and compare that to a previous time period, and that's what's currently being done. So instead of looking at just 1 today, 7 tomorrow, 40 the next day, look at the number of cases over a time period and compare that to a previous period, and then we can look at the rate of increase. How many increases over how many. So all of these factors basically go into determining whether there's a wave or not. So we're still looking at it, and as time progresses, we'll be able to clearly make predict. It's all dependent on behavior, and our behavior determines which direction we go. So if we realize that there's a case increase, and we all practice those things were very, very important, such as social distancing and wearing masks, sanitizing his hands, we don't let our guard down, then we can determine the direction in which this goes. We don't have to sit passively and wait for someone, this is a third wave or not a third wave. Our behavior determines the direction in which it goes.
And we are seeing this spike in cases at a time when we're introducing yet a new vaccine in the Sinopharm vaccine. We heard the co-coordinator of the National Vaccination Program, Major David Clark, talk about the slow uptake. All of these things would affect how Barbados as a nation responds to this current spike in cases. As you said, there are a number of factors that have to be considered to determine if this is indeed a third wave. And then there's a consideration about the Delta variant. How does all of this play into the mix of things as Barbados tries to respond?
So if we have a more transmissible variant in the space such as Delta or Gamma, then that also determines how many people can get infected. It's not that variant is necessarily more virulent. Way and it makes people more sick faster. It is that it can be transmitted to more people from a single person. So the more people that get infected, the more probability they have of becoming unwell. And we see how it swept over India, for example. It really swept over a largely unvaccinated population. And that is where Delta is affecting even those countries that have vaccinations now. So even in the UK, the US, etc., it's clear that vaccines are offering some protection. Not that you can't get it, but you're less likely to become ill and hospitalized if it's a vaccine. But for those who are completely unprotected, the increase in hospitalizations and deaths is really among the unvaccinated population with these new variants as they spread more quickly.
And speaking about vaccines and vaccine availability, what is your take on the situation? We now have the Sinopharm, and Barbadians are being told to go and get vaccinated, but some countries across the world are not accepting certain versions of the vaccine. What can you tell us?
So over the weekend, we saw, from late last week, we started to see guidance from countries saying that they would accept this vaccine and not that vaccine. And so what I would say is that if you're a traveler, you should look at the travel schedules for the countries that accept the vaccines that we offer. Now, we don't have many choices. A wide variety of vaccines. We don't have to pick and choose. What we have to do is protect our population here from getting sick and being hospitalized. But we don't have a wide variety of vaccines to choose from. We can't say, oh, we're going to go and get Moderna or Pfizer, because we just don't have them. They're not available. So what I find is happening now, to me, to my mind, is a bit of a way of discrimination, because you're saying this person is vaccinated, but they can't go to Europe because they got Covishield, so they're not accepted in these particular countries. But yet, if you got AstraZeneca, which is the same molecule, the exact same vaccine from within another country, they would accept that. So it's in a way, it's sort of a way of saying, well, if you come here, you're going to have to quarantine, so don't come here. And that's a bit of the vaccine politics that's going on now in the world. But for Barbadians, we have to take the choices that we have to protect ourselves, because we don't have those wide variety of choices. And it has made it point over and over again that we're not like the developed countries that can have all the vaccines. That's difficult to obtain and secure a supply of vaccines for our nation. And we're still continuing to try to get whatever vaccines we can get.
Quickly before you go, Dr. Williams, what would your advice be to people who are traveling now from Barbados in terms of getting vaccinated?
Well, clearly, obviously, there's risk in travel still, and there still should not be a lot of non-essential travel. I feel as if things are so much better, we could go. But there's still the risk of trying and getting the virus, the COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So what I would say to them is, if you don't have to travel, don't travel. But if you do, please be fully vaccinated so that you have the best possible protection against being hospitalized or even worse outcomes if you should become infected. When you travel, don't relax your precautions. Take even greater precautions. Wear the best mask that you can wear. Practice sanitization, and where possible, practice social distancing from people. Don't go shopping and in every store, pick up everything. Just act as if you're not home, so you don't have to wear a mask. Continue to follow the public health guidelines, even if the guidelines have changed in other countries. That would be my advice to you, because if you get a variant where you are, you can always bring it back to the unvaccinated population of Barbados. So travel, protect yourself, and remember to protect others.
Well, Dr. Williams, we are out of time, but I know there's still so much more to talk about. I know you're working on a statement, and we'll wait to hear more from you when you release that. But thank you for your time this morning. You stay safe. Until next time.
Okay, take care. Thank you, Shane. Bye-bye. Have a good morning, buddy.
Appreciate it. We'll take a break here and look at the COVID-19 situation here in Barbados and further afield in our COVID-19 updates. 11 new positive COVID-19 cases, 5 females and 6 males have been recorded here in Barbados. They have come from 739 tests carried out on July the 18th by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. So those tests were done on Sunday. There are currently 151 people in isolation, and the viral illness has claimed 48 Barbadian lives. The number of first doses administered under the National Vaccination Program now stands at 98,206. Additionally, 73,427 people have received second doses of the COVID-19 vaccines and are now fully vaccinated. Over in Antigua, the Prime Minister Gaston Brown has warned public servants who fail to take a vaccine against the coronavirus that they will be subject to regular testing at their own cost. He said that the cabinet there is close to making a decision on the matter. The Prime Minister has argued that governments have to move to protect people from themselves. He also says his government has a responsibility to ensure that the workplace is free of COVID and to provide a healthy working environment for all workers in the country, including those in the public sector. Mr. Brown says the decision will be likely made if vaccinations and the process continues to be slow. He insists that he will be standing behind the policy which has already been rolled out for tourism and frontline workers who have not yet been vaccinated. Under the recommendation, public servants who are not vaccinated could be subjected to presenting a negative PCR test twice monthly at their own cost. Thailand has expanded COVID-19 restrictions that include stay-at-home orders and a nighttime curfew as the number of daily infections soared to a record high for a third consecutive day.
It's reported a fourth consecutive day of record new cases with more than 11,000 infections. Domestic flights have been suspended and more places are under curfew. People from high-risk areas have been asked to stay at home. Tony Cheng has more from Bangkok.
I drove past a hospital today where there were queues outside the hospital around the block of people waiting just to get tested. It's a real problem here. I think the government recognizes that they don't have the situation under control. They're trying to increase the level of the lockdown. We're still not seeing the same level of lockdown we saw this time last year when very strict measures were in place, but they're tightening things up. This is the second time in less than 7 days. They've increased the curfew. It's now no longer optional. People have to stay indoors between the hours of 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. More places of business are being closed. They're being forced to shut. Again, that was voluntary last week when they put these measures in place. Flights out of the capital are being banned. Now, this is regarded as a deep red zone, an area of really serious infection, and they want to stop people from moving in and out of Bangkok at all. The problem is the government's kind of torn. Down in the south, it's trying to open up, trying to get tourists back into Phuket and Samui now, the other holiday island that opened up with the sandbox scheme. But with everything that's going on in the rest of the country, it seems very unlikely that Thailand will open up. The Prime Minister's hope was that it would happen on the 1st of October. I think at this stage, that's very, very optimistic.
South Korea will airlift dozens of sailors from a warship involved in anti-piracy operations in the seas off Africa. This after the military confirmed its biggest ever outbreak of coronavirus in the military.
247 sailors on an anti-piracy mission in waters off Africa are infected. It comes as South Korea battles its worst ever outbreak with 1,200 new cases in the past 24 hours. Restrictions have been extended across the country to curb the spread. Rob McBride's in Seoul with more on the South Korean warship outbreak.
It is a very alarming outbreak, given the fact that this did seem to spread through the entire ship's company in the matter of just a few days. It is rather reminiscent of the outbreak that caught the US aircraft carrier way back at the beginning of this pandemic in March of last year that was similarly stricken in the Pacific Ocean. Warships, we know, are incredibly vulnerable, confined spaces, especially below decks, with very little chance for large large crews to socially distance. This is a much smaller ship, but it's no less alarming. Out of the crew of some 300, 247 testing positive. This destroyer is part of South Korea's contribution to the anti-piracy task force off the east coast of Africa. It still had another month of its deployment to run, but that has now been prematurely cut short. As questions are being asked here in South Korea about, given the vulnerability, why hadn't the crew been vaccinated? Now, the military have come under a lot of scrutiny. They have said that there were logistical problems in getting vaccines out to this ship. That may be true, but they certainly have much bigger logistical problems now. They have a stricken vessel and a sick crew, and the solution to it is by no means easy. They have sent from South Korea to military aircraft to bring the entire crew back here to South Korea. Those same planes have taken out a replacement crew, a reduced crew of 150 sailors, whose job it is now to bring this ill-fated vessel back to South Korean waters.
Let's go over to Pearson now to hear what's happening on the Tuesday edition of Morning Barbados. Pearson, over to you.
Thank you, Shane. Well, when you join me here on Morning Barbados today, we'll take a look at Operation Safe Space, creating that movement for change, tackling gender-based violence and intimate partner violence as well. And we'll meet two of the project coordinators who will tell us how they are beginning to create that movement for change. We'll also today be taking a look at the West Indies versus Australia. As you know, cricket will be on at Kensington Oval today, heard live on radio. And certainly we'll find out whether or not the resilient West Indies can actually be resilient enough in the ODIs. And we'll continue our journey with our pediatrician as we look at the summer checklist part 2. What are your children eating during the summer holidays? What are they playing? What are they watching? What are they doing? With whom are they associating? Those are some of the questions we're tackling, among everything else, right here on Morning Barbados when you join me then. Back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. After the break, you'll hear about 24 hours, two shootings, and one fatal. All of the details coming next. Police this morning investigating another shooting death. Dead is 35-year-old Omar Ramel Boxel, 35 years of age, of Streets Road, Flagstaff, St. Michael. Reports coming from Central Police Station and the Criminal Investigations Department are that police responded to a shooting incident which occurred about 7 last evening at the Constitution River Terminal in the area of the Stalls. Witnesses reported that they heard a number of gunshots, and police in uniform who were stationed within the terminal building were alerted by those eyewitnesses who led them to the area. On arrival, police saw the lifeless body of a man sitting in a chair with visible injuries about his body. The man was pronounced dead at the scene and investigations are ongoing. police have launched a public appeal for any information pertaining to this incident. You may call the Central Police Station at 430-7676 or the police emergency number at 211, or you can call any police station. Meanwhile, there was a second shooting last evening. The other one was in Denton Road, Grisettes B, at around 6:30 in the evening. Police Public Relations Officer Rodney Innes has confirmed that a man was shot in the stomach. And when he was speaking to the media, he also said that this man was transported by private vehicle to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where he is said to be in stable condition and was awaiting surgery up to last night. Investigations are also continuing into that incident. The Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Senator Rudy Grant, says he welcomes the move to accept tourists who have received 2 different COVID-19 vaccines. He's hopeful this will increase arrival numbers from Barbados's major source markets.
My understanding is now, based on what would have been communicated earlier, is that persons who come in with 2 different doses of a vaccine, of a 2-dose vaccine that is, would be treated as the fully vaccinated visitors are treated. And that is something that is very positive. It means that we should be seeing sustained business coming out of Canada as well, where that is the type of approach being utilized with respect to the vaccine. So we are very positive that we will continue to see growth in this very important sector.
In news out of Haiti this morning, the acting Prime Minister Claude Joseph, whose leadership of the nation has been disputed since the July 7th assassination of President Jovenel Moïse, says he will cede power.
Claude Joseph told the Washington Post newspaper that he and Ariel Henry, who'd been appointed by Moïse as Prime Minister, had met privately to resolve the dispute.
Well, Ariel Henry is now in charge. Remember, this is the man that Jovenel Moïse appointed but didn't swear in days before his assassination on July the 7th. So this essentially ends for now this political battle that was going on between Claude Joseph and Ariel Henry. And it wasn't just those two. There were some other people vying for position as well. So that, for now, I think will help the security situation. But it's important to remember they are trying to form an interim government to head towards the next democratic elections, which they hope to hold towards the end of the year. That is crucial because there have been no elections in Haiti since 2019, or elections that they tried to put on in 2019 that failed. So this is a step, I think, in the right direction. But the bigger challenge will be having democratic elections and them being seen by the populace as fair and free, because there are always issues with elections in that country. But I think people in Haiti, worried about the security situation, can perhaps take some solace that there is now an appointed leader, someone who has been backed by the international community.
The Biden administration took a step towards its goal of shutting down the Cuba-based Guantanamo Bay Detention Center for terror suspects yesterday, releasing into the custody of his home country a Moroccan who had been held without charge almost since the U.S. opened the facility 19 years ago. Let's take a look.
Abdul Latif Nasser was repatriated to Morocco after nearly 2 decades behind bars. He was accused of involvement with the Taliban, but he was never charged. The prison was set up to house foreign suspects after the 9/11 attacks, but it came to symbolize the excesses of Washington's so-called war on terror. At its peak after the invasion of Afghanistan, the prison complex held about 675 inmates. Now just 39 prisoners remain. Only 11 of those have been charged with war crimes. Like Abdul Latif Nasser, 10 of the remaining inmates have been recommended for transfer.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki moments ago making it very clear that the goal of President Biden is to close the Guantanamo Bay detention facility. In fact, she says of the remaining 39 there, 10 are eligible for transfer, 17 are receiving a periodic review. In other words, their cases are being looked at for potential transfer. 10 are under a military commission in terms of examining justice and the allegation that's against them, and 2 have been convicted. Now, the White House was also noting that in all of this, that the release that has just been announced, or the transfer rather, of Mr. Nasser is in fact something that started back in 2016 under the Biden administration, but was paused under the Trump administration. And the White House making clear that they would like to see more transfers occurring in the future.
In sports, Toyota says it will not be airing TV commercials in Japan related to the Tokyo Olympics as the games continue to face a skeptical Japanese public. The announcement is another blow to the competition, which was derailed last year by the coronavirus pandemic and which kicks off on Friday with Tokyo under a state of emergency because of the recent rise in new cases of COVID-19.
Toyota will continue to support athletes associated with the company, but its CEO and other officials will not attend the opening ceremony on Friday. It's largely due to the lack of public support for the Olympics, with polls suggesting 2/3 of Japanese people doubt the Games can be held safely in Tokyo. Earlier, we spoke to Simon Chadwick. He's a professor of sport industry in the UK. He believes that Toyota made the move to show solidarity with the Japanese people.
We already know that there is a great deal of public resistance to the Olympics, and polls continue to suggest that people don't want the Olympics to be there. So I think it's a direct response to that on the part of Toyota. Toyota is actually a global sponsor, and so much of Toyota's promotional activity, activation as we would call it in marketing terms, is going to take place outside Japan anyway. I think really for me it's the symbolism of what's happened inside Japan that's going to be most significant, because I think if Toyota was seen to be associated with an event that may ultimately become known as a super spreader event, that wouldn't play well with the Japanese public. So I think what Toyota is doing is to send a signal to the Japanese public that it understands, that it empathizes, and that it's not going to do anything that is detrimental to the Tokyo population.
And as we are on the topic of the Olympics, let's talk about the Olympic moment today, which involves the first Barbados team to make an Olympic final.
Barbados created history in Los Angeles 1984 when they qualified for their first ever track final. The quartet of Richard Louis, David Peltier, Clyde Edwards and Elvis Ford made it to the final of the men's 4x400 meter relay. In the semis, heat number 2, they were fourth in 3 minutes, 3.89 seconds, with Elvis Ford powering down the home stretch.
The first 4 will move on to the final of this men's 1600 meter relay. Nigeria is going to qualify quite comfortably, but the battle for 2, 3, 4, and 5 is really developing as they race down the home straight. A move on the inside from Donato Savia of Italy. He's going to get up there. Elvis Ford of the Barbados and Donato Savia of Italy both staged tremendous final legs to provide their countries with a spot in this 1600 meter relay final.
In the final.
And that's it for today's edition of the Morning Report. We do apologize for the absence of weather. I'm Shane Seeley. Up next, we have Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning.
morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Barbados for today, Tuesday, the 20th of July, 2021. Welcome to those of you watching us on our YouTube channel, Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, or on our Facebook streams at CBC Barbados and Morning Barbados as well. Good morning to you. It's the second day of the week, and today, as usual, on a Tuesday, we'll get to hear from our girl, Agent Sharita. As today we look at tips to self-manage your own rental properties. A number of us try to do it on our own, but sometimes we need help and the guidance from a real estate agent. And so she'll share with us some tips that we can use to manage our own properties. Thornwood comes by. He promises to teach me how to climb a ladder. I can climb a ladder, Thorn, but he'll be in today as a form of exercise how to climb that ladder. And we'll also today be hearing from the members of the St. Michael Parish Independence Committee on the events that they're holding in this month of July to focus more attention on the upcoming parish independence celebrations. But let's get started this morning by taking a look at Operation Safe Space. And we're joined by two project coordinators today, in that Marcia Hines Lane and Robin Paris. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You say that Operation Safe Space is creating a movement for change, and you're looking particularly at gender-based violence and intimate partner violence as well. And naturally, one asks the question, how prevalent is that in Barbados? What do you say?
I would say it's very prevalent, Pearson. Actually, I think one of the things that we need to do moving forward is to make sure that we're documenting the levels, because right now we still don't have a national mechanism for the collection of statistics around domestic violence. And so us that work in the space, providing services, assisting survivors, we know that there is certainly a high level of these kinds of incidents in Barbados. But in order to provide programming that makes sense for people's lives, we need to be able to capture those statistics.
And in capturing that statistic as well, I guess you'd want to know how much is the percentage, the quantity really gender, males versus females. How many situations occur where men are the endpoint of that display of violence?
Well, I mean, across the world, the trend, because of what gender-based violence is. Gender violence is violence that is perpetrated against an individual because of societal beliefs and expectations about what they should and should not do. And so by virtue of that, because of how we construct women and because of what we expect from them, a lot of this type of violence affects the lives of women and girls disproportionately. And that's not just something that we see play out in the Barbadian space, that's an international statistic. So we know that women and girls are affected disproportionately. But of course, yes, we do have men who are affected by intimate partner violence. And so if you're doing a national statistical bank, you are going to make a collection across the gender categories. And I think if we start to do that, we might also realize that boys, Barbados, are severely affected by things like domestic violence as well, and contribute, of course, to some of the years that we keep talking about society, the bullying, and a lot of men finding themselves on the periphery. What people would term the periphery of this society, block culture, the ZR culture, and that kind of thing. So I think collecting the statistics across the board can really help us to look at the issues that we might think are issues in Barbados, but which really come from that instability that is caused by this gender-based violence, domestic violence, and intimate violence. Because we talk a lot about the intimate partner violence, but we forget that domestic violence, that instability in a family unit can have far-ranging impacts as well.
It's a societal problem. It's been here for generations. Robin, let's talk a little bit about how the Operation Safe Space is beginning to create that movement for change, affecting that change in our society.
Yes, so for years in the Barbadian space have found ways basically to organize them and to be able to address the issues of intimate partner violence as well as women's and inclusion. And so Operation Safe Space different from the previous model, which was other women coming into the space and giving victims and survivors what they thought they needed, whereas Operation Safe Space is a survivor-run initiative by survivors, for survivors, where we are grateful for the work of the women who have gone before us, but we are looking at taking that a step further into this first-person movement where survivors are not only empowered to save themselves, but in saving themselves are able to enter the movement and continue the work by being safe spaces for other women.
You talk a bit about increasing knowledge and application of CAP 130A, but for a lot of us, what's CAP 130A?
CAP 130A is the protection orders, and they were taken to an extent to the Act in 2016. And we recognize that a lot of women, the public generally, sometimes lawyers, even police, are not au fait with some of the revisions that were made in 2016. And so one of the things, this first project that OSS is running, and we have to say thanks to our project partners, Nathan Gibson and Dr. Yvonne Weeks, we need to expand the knowledge of the Protection Orders Act by placing information about the Act in the public domain. So women supposed to get when they are victims of intimate partner violence or domestic violence. What are even the definitions of domestic violence, partner violence? How can women provide for their children when they're thinking about leaving these situations? So we are going to make sure that we provide public signage and public discussion so that women know how to negotiate that act.
And so part of that public discussion and public awareness is a family law seminar which you're holding. And who's going to tackle that one to tell me, dig into that one now. Let's talk about what we can all experience when we join this family law seminar.
Well, the family law seminar is geared specifically at attorneys in Barbados with less than 15 years of call to the bar who deal with the issues of family violence. There are several best practices that the rest of the world has taken on to be able to assist women affected by domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and sexual violence. And so we want to make sure that the lawyers in Barbados have a space for continuous professional development where we're going to be bringing some of that information to the attorneys at law that are practicing in family in Barbados. So we have specialists from McGill University, have the Trinidad and Tobago Family Association of the Trinidad and Tobago Bar Association that will come and do on the welfare principles. We have two specialists from the United States of America who look at high conflict divorce resolution and how to address issues around those high conflict divorces. So we've really designed a comprehensive package that we think will be attractive to the attorneys in Barbados. And like I said, will help them to be able to help their clients when their clients come to the type of issues that we're focusing on.
That's, I suppose, then, Robin, part one, dealing with the attorneys. But then you have to also, before it gets to the attorney, or maybe it goes through the police, hands of the police or relatives. So what plans are in place by the project to be able to also tackle it from that civil society perspective?
Oh, absolutely. So actually the second prong of our approach after we look at messaging, the lawyer training, as well as advocacy training to ensure that we have a capable cadre of advocates within the space that are able to take, victims through the process. Our very next step is to be looking at all areas of the law enforcement, again, so that police are au fait with the Violence Protection Orders Act and their role in not only assuring a victim of what it is that they can expect through the process, but also removing that burden from the victim, that they are able to have the space not only to heal, but to be able to grow and ultimately exit the situation that they have been in. And in doing so, we hope to interrupt the cyclical nature of the violence abuse that we know is so prevalent within our society.
So how are we going to get into those spaces, though, where people begin to see the information and absorb that information? What's the plan there?
So we have, for example, a presence on Facebook. There is a website, and you can follow us on Instagram at oss.246, oss.246. We also have, of course, an email address. So we have all of the mechanisms set up where individuals can find out more. Information is important. Education is important. We're also, like I said, going to be doing community engagement and involvement. Dr. Yvonne Weeks is working on a part of our first project where we allow survivors to talk about their experiences, and those experiences will be storied in an artistic way. So we're not only using traditional ways of talking about these issues, but we're very open to using the theater, to using journaling, to using different ways so that we can delve into the issues and really be able to provide, like we want to, that change around how we see domestic violence and how we see the survivors and how we see the importance of dealing with this scourge in our country.
I know we oftentimes think of domestic violence as happening within the space of the home. Would you say that domestic violence also happens in the space of the workplace?
Look at Hope here.
I'm sorry, it's a question.
Barbados is a very violent society. We tend to want to believe in Barbados that it is just, a few gun-running people who are perpetrating violence against one another on our streets. Our historical reality is that we are a society that is born out of a plantation culture. Plantation culture has as its very base violence. And so we do see violence perpetrated in our workplaces today. I don't know necessarily that you like domestic violence because there's a very interpretation of that in the law. But we do know in which our society needs to think about the way we treat to each and treat with each other. And so what is happening with the guns on the street and all of that is really a microcosm of what happens in our society at many other levels: workplace, family, even sometimes, other places that we might not think about immediately. And so if we want to fix it, I think we have to re-engineer our society. Yes, we had the good old days and a lot was good about it, but the good old days also left us with sense of abuse that we perpetrate. And so if we want to change who we are moving forward in our history, we're going to have to re-engineer the way that we think about people and emotional intelligence and how we treat to each other.
So Robin, how is Operation Safe Space then going to break it all down? So to recap for all of us who might have just joined late, how is Operation Safe Space going to break it down, and what are the approaches that you're going to be taking as an organization?
So we are basically attacking the issue from both ends. So it is the education, the policy change through the lawyer training, but it also is taking women who have experienced domestic and intimate partner violence and giving them the tools basically so that they are able not only to save themselves, but then in the process of doing so, able to change the model within their home. As Marcia said, these are cyclical violent structures that we see reoccurring within the same family household. Somebody is able to basically break the cycle. So Operation Safe is doing that through a messaging, a campaign, a safe space, creating safer spaces within Barbados. When you think of physical spaces like parks, beaches, home life, walking down the street, those sort of safer spaces, as well as an emotional safer space, a place where they can come and feel understood and heard and safe to be able to share their experience and to learn and grow from it.
It's a 10-month campaign, Marcia, and at the end of the 10 months, what are you hoping to achieve?
At the end of the 10 months, we want people to feel that Operation Safe Space is indeed somewhere that they can call if they're having an issue or if information, or if they just want, as Robin said, to be heard. At the end of the 10 months, we want to be in the space such that we can continue to do work on behalf of girls in Barbados. Because we start with a 10-month campaign because in civil society, work is run on a project basis. But it doesn't mean that we're going to just go away after the 10 months. There's a lot of work to do. At the end of the 10 months, we want people to be more au fait with their rights, with the expectation, and most of all, we want to be able to change the way that we think about and talk about domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and sexual Barbados. It really is time for us to create safer spaces, especially for the girl children of Barbados. But as we do that, it benefits all of us. All of us are, all of us have gains in that process.
Well, certainly that movement for change starts now, folks, starts now. So for those of you who are going to be joining, though you attorneys at law, how fortunate you are to join this family law seminar, do so. We encourage you to do so. And we want to commend you both, Marsha Hines Lane and Robin Paris, project coordinators with Operation Safe Space, to continue agitating in the way that you are, because it really benefits of an overall society. And though some of us sit on the sidelines and watch, we're thankful that you two ladies are at the forefront, along with the rest of your team, to effect that change. Best of luck going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 11 minutes to go to 7 o'clock. The last time he was here, he made a prediction and it happened. It happened. Pedro Agard, good morning to you, Pedro.
Good morning to you, Pearson. Good morning to all your viewers.
I hope you, again today, you're going to use your reverse psychology to make it happen. By the way, folks, Pedro is the host and producer of the In Swing Cricket Show on 94.7, the best 24/7. So, Pedro, here we are. We just wrapped up the T20 series against Australia and we beat them bad, 4-1. We beat them bad. We're about now to start the ODI series at Kensington Oval. Right off the chalk, reverse psychology again. What are you going to say?
Yeah, reverse psychology again. Australia will win.
So we don't know what the outcome will be, according to Pedro. But let's talk.
I think the West Indies team here obviously with a distinct advantage. The Australia team, which as you rightfully said, were badly beaten, and beaten on the basis of their batting not really showing up and being accountable, and they aren't able to change anyone from the squad for obvious reasons in the middle of a pandemic, and they're on tour. The West Indies team, on the other hand, have been able to bring in some other players, some other players, the likes of Chris Gayle and Andre Russell. They brought in Shea Hope and Roston Chasen. So they have resources, so you will expect this West Indies team to be very competitive. Again, unfortunately, history is not against them. This is not a format where West Indies have done well against Australia. I think the last time we've beaten Australia would have been, I think, the Tri-Nation Series back here in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So in the last 5 games, I think we've probably won. That was in 2016. So the odds aren't really against are on our side, but they should do well home conditions with resources and advantage in their favor.
But coming off that win in the T20 series, surely they're buoyed by all of that happening as well. Do you see, though, any improvement in the West Indies' performance, whether it's in the bowling or batting departments?
Well, if you're looking at that T20 series which completed, there was a lot of emphasis for rightfully so placed on that powerhouse batting lineup. But I thought for me the bowling unit stood out. I thought that the bowlers really handled themselves well under tremendous pressure, because although this Australia team on paper reads a weakened unit, A lot of those players have been doing very well on the franchise circuit. So aren't like these guys are slouches by any sense. So I thought that the bowlers handled themselves pretty well. Lots of those bowlers came out of that tournament with better economy rates over the series than their career stats suggested. So they've done well. I mean, I spoke about Halen Walsh last in the show, and I would say that this young man is very fortunate. I mean, he's gotten care of the series, but he didn't bowl well. He'll be disappointed with his bowling performance, but I thought that the wickets he would be happier with. In terms of the batting, I've seen improvement from Shimron Hetmyer. You know where my position with him stands. People keep saying that he needs to talk to somebody, he needs to mature, but he's been on the circuit too long. I thought we saw a mature approach from him in this T20 series, and where everyone focused on that 61 odd, 61 he scored, I thought for me the 20 he made in the first T20 set up his real performance, and I thought he did well. Dwayne Bravo came back to some form of the bat, batting in unusual positions, but he did the job in that second T20 with a partnership with Hetmyer as well. So the batting unit, still a lot of work to be done there, but they have glimpses to do if they're going to defend their World Cup title.
There's a phrase that goes, catches win matches, but pitches too. You know, so what do you know about the pitch here at Kensington Oval? Compare with the pitch in St. Lucia, for instance. What differences do you know of that could influence one way or the other the outcome?
Well, the pitch at Kensington Oval, unfortunately, will be unknown until we see the first couple balls bowled. The teams have actually had a run out on the square, so they will have a good idea. Mitchell Stark is on record already saying that he thinks the service at Kensington Oval is going to be better than the one in St. Lucia. And I think he means better in terms of the ODI format. The one in St. Lucia tends to offer a lot of pace and bounce for the fast bowlers. But what we saw in the T20 series there, that they tried to the grass off and the wicket went the other way to get really slow. The wickets at Kensington really are good for batting, whether you're batting pace or spin. There have been some times where the wickets haven't been up to scratch, but I think the wicket at Kensington should be batting friendly. The Australians are already weary of Kensington in terms of it's not a big outfield in any sense of imagination. You know, these West Indies batters hit the balls a pretty long way. But I think the pitch should be, based on history, should be a better service for one-day cricket. And I just hope that the ground staff had enough time to get the required work in.
The mental capacity, though, because oftentimes we hear the players say, you know, oh, we love to hear the crowds, we love to see the crowds, we love the noise in the stadium. And yet, because of the pandemic and because of our situation here in Barbados, no spectators will be allowed into the Oval. How much do you think that will play into the mindset of those who are going to be heading onto the pitch today?
Yeah, it will play a big part. I mean, the Australians then will not have pressure of spectators because we're away. You'll expect the majority of the spectators to be home-based fans. So that will allow the Australians to settle down a little bit. But what you will notice in the T20 format, and I got to give credit to the West Indies management staff for that, the West Indies players' dressing room was very, very vocal. And when you're playing, that's something you need. You need, if you don't have spectators in the ground, you need the support of your players. But I think the lack of spectators will play a big part in really evening out this encounter for both West Indies would not have that support of a crowd, and the Australians will not feel that pressure as well of a crowd. But yes, spectators play a big part. That means disappointed that spectators aren't allowed on the ground, but protocols have to be in place and safety comes first.
Absolutely. Now, it seems to some people, novices perhaps like myself, who would say, you know, but West Indies play far better at the shorter versions of the game, T20, perhaps the ODIs. But when it comes to tests, look out. You know, but then again, that's because of the vagaries of a test match. And there's some tests that will be coming up when Pakistan begins its tour as well. So what do you say about that kind of thinking?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the basic fact that our players don't play enough second innings or long form cricket. So when they get into a test arena, when they're expected to be able to bat at least minimum of 100 overs, which will be a day in the piece struggle, because something they do. It also shows even in the shorter format when they are top orders put under pressure, then you come in and they get stuck not being able to rotate strike. In the longer form of the game, it's common knowledge and the easiest way to get off strike is to stroke the long off and long on, get the serve off strike when spinners are in play. But the format, shorter format, guys will go for 6 and 4s, and that's where our shortcoming is. I think it comes a lot to the way we play cricket. I've said for a long time, I think that our local format was wrong in terms of we started a point system here where we're rewarding guys for maximum batting points for scoring 300 runs in 75 overs. This was back before the pandemic. And I thought that was a mistake because you're asking guys to score 4 runs and over a day, and that doesn't even happen really at the highest level. So when guys are now learning their craft, it's pretty difficult to ask them to do that. And that template is also being forecasted in the first class season where 100 overs for 400 runs, maximum batting points as well. So I think we got to look back our art and the way that we feel. I think we should start give our teams batting an entire day rather than how much they score. But yeah, our test cricket will be a conundrum for a little bit. Batsmen really can get the act together, and also until we can find ourselves a quality spinner, because test cricket is played over 5 days. Well, these days get beat so bad it doesn't go there, but it's supposed to be over 5 days. And you want to have a spinner of some quality going into that 4th or 5th day where the seamers wouldn't really be effective. And teams like Pakistan, who are going to be on our trust pretty soon, they have that in spades. So this is where West Indies' shortcomings are, and it's something they have to work on very, very quickly in the future going forward.
Boy, you make it sound so almost dreadful, but that's all right. Plus, the domestic season will be starting soon, so in time to come, as one famous calypso will have said, we will be having our discussion too on the domestic season here in Barbados as well. So, Pedro, I want to thank you again for joining us this morning, for waking up early, because I know you were up to quite late last night with our In Swing program on 94.7, the best 24/7, and I look forward to engaging with you even more as this series now as it continues against Australia and the upcoming Pakistan series as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Pedro Agard, host and analyst of the program In Swing, the cricket show. We're going to take a break right here. When we're back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is 7 o'clock in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Very shortly, we'll get an update on the news, but still to come on Morning Barbados, a chance for you to win with Crumbs Bakery. Hope you got your knowledge together, because we'll be opening the phone line to you for you to win with Crumbs Bakery this morning, coming up right after the news. Also today, coming up, will be our conversation as we continue with our pediatrician as we continue looking at our summer season and what the children need to be paying attention to, and you too as a parent. Like some of those checklists would include, what your children are watching, what they're doing, what they're eating, and with who they're hanging out and playing. So some things that as a parent you need to pay closer attention to. We'd also this morning be hearing from a couple of people with the St. Michael Parish Independence Committee on some of the activities they have in this month of July as they continue to bring greater awareness about the work of the Parish Independence Ambassadors for the Parish of St. Michael. So look out for that too. And Agent Sharita will come by to talk about some tips to self-manage your rental properties. That's straight ahead right here on Morning Barbados. Let's get the latest in news now. Here's Shane Seeley.
Yes, Pearson and lawmen are at this time actively investigating 2 shooting incidents, one of them fatal in the last 24 hours. Dead is a 35-year-old Omar Rommel Boxell, 35 years of Streets Road Flagstaff, St. Michael. Reports from Central Police Station and a CID are that police responded to a shooting incident at around 7 p.m. last evening at the Constitution River Terminal in the area of the Stalls. Witnesses reported they heard a number of gunshots, and police in uniform who were stationed within the terminal building were led to the scene by eyewitnesses. On arrival, police saw the lifeless body of a man sitting in a chair with visible injuries about his body. He was pronounced dead at the scene and investigations are ongoing. Police have launched a public appeal for any information pertaining to this incident. You're being asked to call the Central Police Station at 430-7676, police emergency at 211, or the nearest police station. Meanwhile, a second shooting occurred in Denton Road, Grisettes, St. Michael around 6:30 last evening. Police Public Relations Officer Inspector Rodney Innes has confirmed that a man was shot in his stomach and was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital by private vehicle and was awaiting surgery up to late last night. Investigations are also ongoing into that incident. The Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners is examining the current COVID-19 situation here in Barbados to determine if it can be categorized as a third wave of the coronavirus pandemic here. President Dr. Linda Williams spoke exclusively to the Morning Report this morning, saying BAMP is working on some modeling data.
There are many inputs into the decision as to whether or not the wave is going to continue, or the number of cases is going to continue. And for that, we're in the process of doing some what we call modeling, which is a way of predicting the direction in which the case numbers are going to go. At this current time, as anyone can see, there has been a rise in the absolute number of cases. But I keep warning people against looking at each day as a discrete day. So you're looking at 40 today and then 47. And you say, okay, so therefore all is well. But the people who were infected yesterday or the day before, they may have come into contact with other people who have not yet shown signs and symptoms, because there's an incubation period for the virus. So it's better to look at the cumulative number of cases or the number of cases over a time period and compare that to a previous time period, and that's what's currently being done.
Dr. Williams also says BAMP is monitoring the vaccine politics playing out as it relates to travel.
If you're a traveler, you should look at the travel schedules for the countries that accept the vaccines that we offer. Now, we don't have many choices. We have a wide variety of vaccines. We don't have to pick and choose. What we have to do is protect our population here from getting sick and being hospitalized. But we don't have a wide variety of vaccines to choose from. We can't say, oh, we're going to go and get Moderna or Pfizer, because we just don't have them. They're not available. So what I find is happening now, to me, to my mind, is a bit of a way of discrimination, because you're saying this person is vaccinated, but they can't go to Europe because they got Covishield, so they're not accepted in these particular countries. But yet, if you got AstraZeneca, which is the same molecule, the exact same vaccine from within another country, they would accept that. Just in a way, it's sort of a way of saying, well, if you come here, you're going to have to quarantine, so don't come here. And that's a bit of the vaccine politics that's going on now in the world.
And finally, as we look at the COVID-19 numbers locally, it's back into the double digits for new COVID-19 infections here in Barbados. 11 new positive cases, 5 females and 6 males have been registered here. They have come from 739 tests carried out on July the 18th, that's on Sunday, by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory. And there are currently 151 people in isolation. The virus has claimed 48 lives. The number of first doses administered under the National Vaccination Program is now 98,206, and additionally 73,427 people have received second doses of the COVID-19 vaccine and are listed as fully vaccinated. And that's your 7 a.m. headline news for this Tuesday. I'm Shane Seeley. Back over to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you. It's now 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're going to take a break right here. And when we're back, you get a chance to win with our Crumbs question of the day.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. Time for you to win now with Crumbs Bakery by you calling me on 228-5562 or 228-5563 to correctly answer today's Crumbs question of the day. So are you ready? Are you ready? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Here comes today's Crumbs question of the day. Your question today is, how many Barbadian athletes have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games? How many Barbadian athletes have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games? Do you know? Have you counted them? Are you a relative of any of them? So how many Barbadian athletes have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Get it right. And you win this morning with Crumbs Bakery, and you will get to enjoy all of those baked products from Crumbs Bakery, finding out for yourself that they're delicious right down to the very last crumb. So, how many Barbadian athletes have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games? Good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. What parish are you watching us from?
St. Michael.
St. Michael. All right. What's your answer?
Is it 6?
I don't answer
6.
questions.
6,
that's your answer.
6.
That's your final answer?
Yes, it is.
That is not the answer.
Okay,
Thank
at
you
least
for calling. At least you tried, that's right. Thank you very, very much. Nope, that's not the answer. The question, though, remains on the table, folks. Come on. How many Barbadian athletes have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games? It's not 6. 228-5562 or 228-5563. How many Barbadian athletes have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games? Coverage right here on CBC TV8. The opening ceremony will be on Friday. Good morning to you. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. What parish are you watching us from?
What parish I'm from?
What parish are you watching us from?
St. Michael.
St. Michael as well. What's your answer? Hello? Do not listen to your television.
Okay.
So, turn down the TV for me, madam, and then you can focus on talking to me via the phone. All right, can we move on to another caller? Let's move on to another caller if we have. So 2285, folks, turn off your TV. When you answer the phone, just talk to the phone. Don't worry about the TV. Stop trying to listen to yourself. 228-5562 or 228-5563. How many Barbadian athletes have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games? Do you know? Good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Is it 11?
Don't answer yet. What parish are you watching us from?
Anything at all.
Hello? Hello? All right. That one gone too. People all. We don't have time to dilly-dally. So let's do this right. Do not listen to your television once you hear me answer. You talk to me via the telephone by listening to me via your telephone. All right? So 228-5562 or 228-5563. Don't knock the fun out of this. How many Barbadian athletes have qualified for the Tokyo Olympic Games? Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. The answer is
Hi,
4.
what parish are you watching from?
St. Michael. St. Michael.
Everybody calling from St. Michael this morning. So what's the number?
12? 4.
12? So, hold on. He is saying 12. You're saying 4. What's the answer?
Number 12. It's 12.
We sticking with 12?
Yeah.
No. But if you subtract 4 from 12, what do you get? Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
If you subtract the 4 from 12, what do you get?
That would be 8.
You sure? Did you use your fingers?
Why would I want to use my fingers? 8.
Listen, I'm helping you, you know. I'm really helping because I think having gone through all we've gone through so far, I should give it to you. Because the answer is no, it all works so, but the answer is actually 8. So I'll give it to you because you were so nice, both of you, tag teaming as a family. So the answer is 8. So congratulations, both of you, and forgive me those of you who think I've done the wrong thing. But thank you so much, ma'am. Stay on the phone, don't put down. We'll take some other information from you. She's winning today with Crumbs Bakery. Tomorrow, another opportunity for you to win with Crumbs Bakery. We're back after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 15.5 minutes after 7 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. That is time to head into the pediatrician's office this morning. Good morning to you, Dr. Gillian Birchwood.
Good morning, and it's lovely to be with you this morning.
As always, as always. So, it's summer vacation, and as us adults, we say to the children, it's time to free up. Do what you want to do. Eat what you want to eat. Hang out with whomever you want to hang out. Do it the way you want to do it. But that's not always necessarily the best approach, is it?
No, this is not the time to just let your children free rein. Remember that they're still children. They still need supervision. So it's particularly important to keep an eye on them at time, just as at any other time.
But as with every child, they're going to remain active. They're going to find things to do and to play and to all of those things. So keeping active is going to be one of the critical things. But then there's the other child who also wants to just sit down and lie down and, you know, those kinds of quiet, sedentary things. So what's the best advice for the parent who has that child who just wants to just sit around?
Well, you know, when children are at school, they're going to be naturally active, especially in primary school, perhaps less so in secondary school. But they're going to be naturally active at break time and at lunchtime. And as soon as the summer holidays hit, those children whose parents don't have an activity plan are likely to see that their children will gain excessive amounts of weight. And we know nowadays that children like to spend a lot of time on this. Their nose is always phone or their they don't even. So it's really important to have an activity plan, and it's recommended that children spend at least 1 hour a day engaged in physical activity, whether they're in school or not, or you're going to see the waistline expand just as it would for us adults.
That physical activity means a little bit of outdoors, parents, as well. Take them outside, let them do some riding, let them do some running, play, run around the place. And even for teenagers, that's also very important. Kick them up, play some football or cricket. But you know, oftentimes we want to take them on a treat and we'll take them into town because they want to go shopping. And these are COVID times, and so we may let our guards down. What are some of the things you think we need to remind ourselves of when we're taking the children into these public spaces?
Yes, so we have to remember very much, unfortunately, that we do have COVID in our environment, and that's not going away anytime soon. We have to learn to live with it and to take the precautions. So we have to be careful. None of our children are vaccinated. Children of 12, there's no vaccination in existence that's been approved for them as yet. And only children over the age of 18, we can't really describe them as children, have been vaccinated in Barbados. And so when you're taking them out into public spaces, you need to constantly remind them to wear their masks. That's for children who are above the age of 2, should wear a mask. Also, that they should not have their hands on their faces. We see all those little kids who are always fumbling and fiddling with the mask, touching everything and their face mask. And that is actually quite a bad idea because it will transfer some bacteria to that mask in close proximity to where they can actually pick up an illness. So we want to make sure that we avoid touching objects, hands clean, keep the hand sanitizer around. If you're using public transport, be particularly vigilant because there's a high turnover and a risk that they could pick up something as well. So be very vigilant and watch your child when you're taking them into town and on those fun outings they like so much.
You're so right, and the boys know me on that. Don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. And if so, you touch, come sanitize, 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 because you have to be so very careful. You want to avoid those mishaps as they occur. But one of the things as well when they're home, keep up on that schoolwork, because oftentimes, especially with the child who might have had a bit of a difficulty, we want to make sure that they stay focused and still do some schoolwork, even though they're relaxing.
Yes, and this is a topic that kids don't like to hear about, but particularly, it's not popular at home, but it's really important, particularly after this academic year was sort of stunted and it was an atypical academic year. You have to keep on top of things. During summer, their brains follow mode. They don't want to hear about addition and subtraction. But if as parents we don't keep them ticking a little bit of something every day, not hours and hours, a few minutes every day can help to prevent the loss of knowledge that will naturally happen during the summer holiday. And particularly this year, we have to keep up because I think that it is quite possible that all of the schoolwork may not have been finished as usual of the various changes we've had to our academic year. So a little bit every day will help to make sure they don't lose the information and they will start out the next school year a bit ahead and not having to then start from a negative place.
You know what I've used to find, I still do, I try to share it with Christopher in particular, you know, the fascination with new things. So the other day we saw an egret, and so the whole thing was, what's an egret? How does it migrate? All of those kinds of things. So there's an interest all the time. So even though it might not necessarily be the formal English mathematics, there is still a form of learning and an explosion in the mind as they're learning to go as well. I think that's important, and to have conversations with the children. Let them talk, let them use their vocabulary, let them use that mind of theirs to share and experience as well. That's just Pearson's point of view.
No,
right.
That's absolutely brilliant. Yes.
Thank you.
Correct.
Now, also, we tend to want to park the children off in front of the television or their tablets and say, all right, go ahead. I'm over here, you are over there, you do your thing. Call me if you need me. That's what we do.
Yeah, that is a simply terrible idea. It's true that when children are on different devices, they don't give any trouble at all. They will sit there for 8 hours if you leave them. But it's really terrible. You don't know what they're watching. And often there are links on the programs that they are watching that are simply leading them to terrible places. You need to make sure you quality control what they're watching. Are they watching an educational show? Is this going to enhance and benefit them? And you need to limit the amount of time that they spend on a screen. Screen time should be a privilege and not a right. It's a privilege and not a right. To earn that privilege, tie it to whether they've done their chores or not, for example. And in addition to that, children should not be sitting down doing nothing for more than an hour at a time. And this should apply even to teenagers. Get them up, get them moving. 45 minutes have passed, get them moving. Move around for at least 15 minutes before you go back. And then you don't want younger children to spend more than an hour on the screen during the day, because that's linked to childhood obesity, to abnormal behavior, because what they're watching may not be appropriate. So be very vigilant and control the amount of time and watching.
You know, as a child, we also heard if you spend so much time in front of the television, you will damage your eyes. Is that true, or is that a myth?
Well, I don't know if they will damage their eyes, but certainly you can have eye strain if you're sitting just looking at the same distance all the time. And so eye strain like that over time can have consequences for the children's vision. So the amount of time the children have had to spend during this academic year on screen, and you add that to the amount of time they're spending socially on the screen, that can't be good.
One of the other things that we tend to also do during the summer holidays is to eat as you please. Just go ahead, have your snacks. This is snack time now. Have whatever you wish, because it's at the end of the vacation, all of that will stop. But is that necessarily a good approach to take with our children?
No. Again, just like us, if we lose and ate whatever we felt like, it might feel great for a day or two, but fitting into your clothes, you will understand why. And as pediatricians, every summer holiday, at the end of the time, we see children who've put on tremendous amounts of weight because they've had physical inactivity coupled with their favorite activity, which is the arm reaching out and going back, which is the fridge, right, opening and closing. And that's the only physical activity some of them have had. And so we make excessive weight gain. The rules still apply. Half their plate should be fruit and vegetables, a quarter should be meat, and a quarter should be carbohydrates. You know, in the Caribbean, we tend to, you put half in carbohydrates, but we need to make sure we are very vigilant. Watch those snacks. They always eat lots and lots of snacks and drink loose, very quiet way put on with the little ones.
Yes. I shared with the little ones the other day the size of the stomach. I said, boys, look at how, fold a face, make a face, and there you go. That's the size of your stomach. So when you eat too much, look, you've exceeded the size of your stomach. So let's watch how much we eat. I think that's so important as we teach our children as we go along as well. Dr. Birchwood, cheese on bread. The time has gone by so very quickly. But there's a whole lot more we could still talk about. Again, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. And I wish you a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day too, Pearson.
Thank you so much. Dr. Gillian Birchwood, our favorite pediatrician, joining us this morning as we continue looking at childhood development right here on Morning Barbados. A break, and we're back with more.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 27 after 7, and now let's turn our attention to the activities of the St. Michael Parish Independence Committee. We're joined this morning by the Public Relations Officer in Adrian Boyce and the Project Coordinator with the committee, Tamara Todd. Good morning, both of you.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
I'm doing well today. Thank you for joining us. Now, is it July that's the month of the Parish of St. Michael?
No, it's going to be November.
No, actually.
So when is it?
In November.
Oh, in November.
Of this year.
Oh, okay. But you're doing some activities in this month, right?
Yes,
right.
throughout the entire year, we're trying to do some activities.
Oh, okay. So, says Miss Project Coordinator, you're the more talky one. Let's start with you then. So what are you doing specifically this month of July? I know I've seen, because I began to browse your social media, and some of the activities that you're doing, I have been doing. So what's coming up still in July?
Okay, well, actually, tomorrow, one of our first events is a virtual one. I'll be entitled Western St. Michael, Old, New, Revitalize. And we'll be discussing areas of St. Michael that are only even remembered. And we have a really great set of panelists lined up. One of them is Mr. Trevor Marshall, who is just a wealth of knowledge. He's going to take us on such a trip. And we have our Miss Harriet Pierce from the Barbados Museum, as well as Natasha Bino. She's a researcher and lecturer. They are going to give us so much information of areas we pass and don't even realize. We don't even think in terms of our culture, our heritage, and really hoping that this comes off with a bang.
Yes. When you say Western St. Michael, define a little bit of that area for us so we're clear on the space that we'll be looking at tomorrow.
Okay, so some of the areas that we'll be looking at will be the Westbury Road area, the Spring Garden Highway, which is one of the revitalized areas, because we know it was called Spring Garden Highway, which is now called
Mighty Granny Highway. Yes, the Mighty Granny
Mighty
Highway.
Granny Highway. Yes, thank you very much. And to really highlight some of the amazing changes that have happened in the areas. We're hoping to highlight some of the history of the areas. Actually, one of the areas on Spring Garden Highway was one of the first landings for us here in Barbados. One of the first official, actually it's the official landing here, the possession of the island from the Englishmen. And there's an actual monument that highlights the entire takeover. And a lot of people don't know much about it.
You got that right.
We're hoping to really highlight some of these areas and really just show St. Michael in a whole different light.
Okay, so that's tomorrow And you said it's virtual,
Yes,
so it's
that's
online.
tomorrow.
It's online. So how
Yes,
where
it
can we
is.
go to engage with all of this real rich information?
If you go and you log on to our IG page, that is St. Michael IC, you can actually get the Zoom ID and password, and it'll be running from 6 to 8 p.m. So we'll have the panelists having a little discussion, and then we'll be taking questions from all people. Once you log in, you're here to join us. So we're hoping that it comes off with a really bang. We're hoping that everyone can tune in and have to offer and keep St. Michael pushing.
But it sounds good. So we go to your Instagram page to find the Zoom ID and login details and password, and you join from there.
Correct.
So Adrian, I know there's something else coming up as well, coming up at the end of the month. You want to tell us about that one?
Yes, well, we have the St. Michael Heritage and Culture Art Competition. And we're looking to really pull those talents that would be in St. Michael to showcase what they have to offer. And you just have 3 simple rules: that you must reside in the parish of St. Michael, submissions should be in painting or drawing form, and the art should be inspired by the parish St. Michael. And you know that St. Michael is the treasure chest of all of Barbados, actually.
Listen.
You know? So we definitely have a lot to work with. So get your submissions in. I know the deadline is soon here, but you still have time. As I said, painting or drawing form, you could be or not. Once you feel inspired, we will welcome that submission.
I like it. And then, these submissions, if you can bring that picture just back up so folks can copy this down. Your submissions will go to Sherelle Griffith, CheRelle, that's Sherelle Griffith, @gmail.com for a chance to contribute to the St. Michael Heritage Mural. Now that sounds interesting. Well, tell us a bit more about that.
Yes. So we were looking to continue a project. Last year with COVID, a lot of the activities were stifled as we would like to do it. But we're looking to actually work in conjunction with Barbados Light and Power in doing a mural on their car park wall there in Bay Street. So the work that's going to be showcased there would be a collage of different aspects of St. Michael. And during the projects that have been done by the parish ambassadors, Ms. Rhea Harris and Mr. Shaquille Wade, we had a tour of St. Michael, in which we discovered the Christian Mission Barbados, which is located at the corner of Lightfoot Lane there in Baxter's Road. That church is one of the only churches that was originated in Barbados and then spread out to different countries around the world. And it is the headquarters of the church here in Barbados. 130 years. Actually, it's going to be 131 in October this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of heritage and history. But St. Michael is such a vast parish. I don't know how you guys are able to cover all of that parish in one short space of time. I can imagine.
We are definitely trained.
So how has the outreach been, though? Talk to me a little bit more about that, Tamara. How has the outreach been so that you get all of you St. Michael people engaging with the parish ambassador and loving the projects?
Well, it has been a little challenging, but we were able to at least conduct 2 walkthroughs where we were engaged with the community, find out a little more on some of areas that they're interested in, and to really push the culture and heritage aspect of St. Michael. And we were just inundated with so many people. They were so fantastic to take. It was so great into some of those neighborhoods and to really discuss. But as I said, COVID has really dampened things. If it's possible, we would have loved to do a virtual type of walkthrough, but we are going to keep pushing to engage the communities, to find out everything that they could possibly give us in terms of knowledge, because we spoke with some people even in the Orleans area where we discovered this small home that was a dance. It was like a dance hall, basically, that is so many years old, and I would have never known of this area had we not engaged with the communities.
Wow.
So we're hoping, as time goes on, that we're able to get back into the area of St. Michael to really talk to others, to really get some things going, and we'll go from there as time goes on. Yes.
So, Rapper, what is it that we all need to know, and so that we can help you do what you're doing as a committee?
Well, as Tamara rightfully said, once you guys learn our page, we usually keep things pretty up to date. I recently get in contact with the Community Independent Secretariat. They are located there in the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Community Empowerment. If you're interested, because what we are looking to do is we take the youth and we develop the skills that they would need. So a lot of young people started the program, very shy, not as well equipped as you would like, but during the training sessions that the program facilitates, you realize it is transformation.
Yes.
And definitely that is what we want to develop in the youth, that sense of community and working together. In a very individualistic society, this is important. And as we look to pave the way going forward, we like to encourage all young people, even if you necessarily don't think you're ambassador material, we'll find something for you. We want to get you engaged and working with us, especially here in the parish of St.
All right. Guys, it sounds so good. I feel your energy already. I can tell you this is going to be fantastic. Yes. So, folks, tomorrow is a great online look into the Western St. Michael, old, new, revitalized. It's tomorrow. And then you have until the 31st of July to get your submissions into the art exhibition, the art competition as well. So thank you so much, Adrian Boyce, Public Relations Officer with the St. Michael Parish Independence Committee, and you too, Tamara Todd, the Project Coordinator as well. Thank you. Have yourselves a great today. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks a lot. Morning Barbados continues with a look at real estate after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
21 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock as we turn our attention to our real estate now with Agent Sharita. Good morning, Agent Sharita.
Good morning, sir.
I love it. I love it. The energy is something else. Agent Sharita in the house, ladies and gentlemen. So today we want to look at people who take on the responsibility of trying to self-manage their own properties as well. So how much of a challenge that truly is?
All right, so what we're looking at is rentals. There have been some people who have been, I could only call it blessed, to have multiple rentals. Pearson, I ran into a gentleman the other day, and we were talking and stuff, and he said, I have 100 units,
What?
I was like, pardon me? In Barbados, I have 100 units. So I cannot even imagine what he does to stay on top of every. I have some tips for those of you who might not have 100, but might have 2 or 3.
Because there's so many things you have to stay on top of. People tend to think it's just collecting rent. No, it's much more than that. It's the maintenance of the property that's also going to be very, very critical.
Yes, and the maintenance plays a large role in whether your tenants remain happy and peaceful or not. So one of the things that you can do to start is make sure you have a list of service providers and contractors. Over time, you know that Billy Bob is the one plumber that responds when you ask him to go somewhere. So you keep him at the top of your portfolio when it comes to any plumbing calls. And same thing goes for whether it's electrician, mason, etc. You need to over time build up a few good men.
Yes.
Those guys who are responsive. And this is what you're going to do, Pearson. You're not going to have yourself. I am going to call Jackie and say, look, Billy Bob can come over to deal with your plumbing issue. Here's his number. And I'll give Billy Bob her number. Right. You organize the time that best suits you. And obviously, if it's more than the threshold that you are required to pay and that the landlord is required to pay, then have Billy Bob find me and I will sort him out. That's how you do it, so you take the weight off of you. You don't need to be showing up there every time a service provider is coming, or organize it yourself.
You're so right, or try to do it yourself, because oftentimes you have that tool belt around you, you figure you're the boss in charge, I've got my dangling keys, let me come fix the pipe. But because you're a handyman in your own particular home does not necessarily mean that you're the best person to attend to this large project of being able to respond to all of your tenants' needs. And I think it's to guard against that. You're right, to have your own calendar of people who you can call on, service people, to provide the particular service and hook them up so that you don't have to be the one running around behind them and chasing behind it. The other thing I think would also be a concern too, because, you know, with the 100 units, for instance, who does the rent collection? How do you do that?
Listen. Now, especially, I love my seniors, and seniors like to feel that money in their hands. So they go into your house with the receipt book, and they count it out. And some people like getting back the receipt with the stamp, and that's great. But we have evolved, Pearson. We have evolved. Thanks to the, electronic payment systems, you can, on the lease, make sure your bank details, and they know that by the first of the month, money should be in there electronically, online. You can log into whatever bank you're dealing with and check your statement. You can look at the click of a button and see if Sue put down her money or not. You don't need to roll up at her house, and you can decide your receipt system. Either, you write her a receipt by email, or even if you want to drop it off when you're passing sometime later. But systems are there to make life easier. So you do not, especially too in this time when you're dealing with COVID and also physical danger as well, you don't need to be rolling up to somebody's and collecting money. People will notice your pattern.
True. I want to get back to the maintenance part for just a moment, because, sometimes we say, you set it and you forget it. So you have a property, you have a unit, and you just rent it out and you forget it. But maintenance also requires that you have a plan. So it's every whatever, you need to go and check on the pipes, you need to go check on this or that. Is that also something that you would recommend for the person who has multiple properties who's trying to manage it on their own?
Yes, I say write the vision down and make it clean. It helps to know that whether it is Christmas or Easter, get some landmark dates that you know that that's the day that you service the air conditioning unit, for example, or that you do a major overhaul on, it might just be spraying oil on if they're close by these different hinge areas or something. But you kind of have an annual calendar. Remember, this is your asset, even though it's tenant, they may not be loving it as much as you might. So it is your job to ensure that you do things annually so that you minimize a breakdown of issues later on.
So how do I minimize the potential for loss, because I'm not keeping a close eye on what it is I'm bringing in?
Well, the reality is spreadsheets. Listen, when you're dealing with even just 2 units or 3 units, you have your spreadsheets, or if you like being old-fashioned, your little composition book, and that's where you keep your logs, right? So have your logs of your, maintenance done on unit 2, on the AC every May, and you can look back and quickly see what was done to it. Was it gassed up? Was it just service and filters cleaned out? Keep your logs, and even in terms of logs, use that tool for management of your funds. I believe in noting everything down. So if ever Pearson decides to become a delinquent tenant, we can look back and say, yes, we got money from him May, June, and April promptly, but what's going on here? After a while, money's coming in late, and you have that log. So you have your spreadsheets for maintenance, spreadsheets for payment, just have your spreadsheet so that you have all your details in one place.
I think we need to guard people to guard against. Don't think it's work. You know, it might sound that way to you, but it's better management of your resources, better management of your time as well. And I think that's the bottom line here. When you have multiple properties and you're trying to manage it on your own, how do you do it? How do you pull it all together? So coordinate it into the ways that you're suggesting this morning. Now, correspondence as well is going to be absolutely critical because if I miss the month, you're going to write to me, and to keep track of that is one thing to write it in the book, but how do you keep track of the correspondence we've actually had? What do you recommend?
Now here's the deal: not every tenant is delinquent, so I don't want you going in with that approach, like guilty until proven innocent.
Okay, righty to
But
do
at the same time, the same way we talked about logging all the maintenance details and so forth. Every conversation that you have, yes, I said it. Every conversation you have with a tenant, you make sure there's a paper note. And when I say that, I don't mean anything like, over serious all the time. But if I tell you today, for example, hi Pearson, connect with the plumber and on purpose, it should be my duty to send you an email. Hey Pearson, as discussed, call Bobby, Bobby the plumber to come out, and remember, as we talked about as well, I will handle payment if it's over $50. Put that in a little basic email or WhatsApp. Those types of things always still have a record somewhere. However, when you get to things like notice, what I've noticed is that landlords, God bless their hearts, and trying to be nice and pleasant, let their notices not go out as they should. So if you notice that John has not paid in April, or he has paid 8 days late and the grace period is 5, you write him a little note. Just a pleasant reminder that payment is due on the 1st of every month. I know that you will, work hard to get things in order.
Yeah, the paper
so
trail.
Paper trail for sure.
The paper trail. It can help you. It can help you when that time comes. Agent Sharita, excellent advice as usual. Folks, her number 233-8888 or Barbados Real Estate 246 on social media. 243-8888. Agent Sharita, did I say 243? Did I say that right?
233.
Thank you. It's 233. I know something just sounded wrong. 233-8888. Thank you so much, Agent Sharita, as always. Catch you next Tuesday, God's Spirit Live.
You're welcome.
All right. Morning Barbados continues while I climb the ladder after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is no place like home, but over the past year, home has taken on an especially significant meaning for most. At times, staying at home may be limiting, but it doesn't need to be boring. If you're someone who is great at the DIY life and you've made your home a haven for creating and making new things, this is the show for you. Send us an email at morningbarbados@cbc.bb and share how you've been making it from home. Ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspiring. inspirational. You're the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you're an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
There's no pain, there's no gain. Thorn, what have the pain? Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, brother. Morning, Barbados. Everybody in the studio and outside and having a good time today. So just as promised, last week Pearson said he was going to hit the agility ladder last week. We were talking about agility. We can get to those myth buff and stuff like that, guys. I know you're dying to know. But we can deal with the agility ladder. All right? Now, Pearson, what I want you to do for me
I'm watching.
is think when you were a child, your mother was about to give you a lick, you take off.
My mother was an athlete, come on.
Right? You duck underneath the chair, you going across the table, you just doing anything that's possible to get away from the licks, right?
Yes.
So that in itself has some stability because you're turning, you're making short turns, you're going under, you're going over, that kind of stuff. So what we're doing, I want you to step in each square with each foot. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Out.
Real simple. Real simple.
That's easy. Oh, you want me to do it now?
Yeah. You want me to do it now? Yeah.
Jeez, all right. I've lost my form, by the way.
Get fancy. Good. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good jog.
That was super simple, right?
Yes.
Now, you're going to place both feet in each square.
Okay.
So you're going faster, right? So we went 1, 2. Instead, we're going to go 1, 1, 2.
Okay.
It's going to look a little bit like this. You're going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
No, not that fast. Not that fast. So this is
all right, slow, easy with the race.
When I finished last week, my calves were burning.
Let it go. You got to use your arms, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I have to?
You got to use your arms.
I thought it was my legs.
Boy, don't walk like this. Walk like this. Boy, don't walk like that. You got to use your arms. Go true.
Okay.
Right. Alternate. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I missed one. I missed one.
Good.
I missed one.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to do one to the side. Now, this one might be a little complicated. You're going forward, back. We did this with the
Yes.
forward and back, into the square. Use your arms.
Forward and back outside. Forward, back outside.
1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2.
I almost fall.
2, and 1, 2.
Easy. Easy, Japanese.
I got one more complicated one.
Okay.
You're going inside and outside. So inside, outside, inside, outside, all the way.
Okay. Inside, outside, inside. Let's visit hopscotch.
Exactly. Like I said, guys, it's a lot of fun working with the agility ladder, working with you get a nice burn. It's a nice variation.
You have to have some coordination, though.
Yeah, exactly. It brings some level of coordination. It's just super cheap piece of equipment that you can purchase from any local sports store. So the Mythbuster.
Right. So wait. But you can shorten the distance depending on the size of the foot, size of the person.
Yeah, exactly. Size of the that you're going to be on, to be quite honest. Yeah. So, Mythbuster, you ready for this Mythbuster?
Sure. 6 minutes.
Okay, so this is going to be like a common topic. I want to say it's one of your more controversial. The question was asked.
Panting?
Well, I am not panting. I'm breathing, like affecting me.
All right, sir.
Right? This goes especially towards women. So she was asking basically if weights are going to make her look bad. Right? That is absolutely false. Absolutely. And I'm going to give a big shout out to Leanne and all my female body who work extremely hard to get the physiques for competition. The vast majority of you are not going to go through that level of training to even achieve that type of physique. You go, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and doing a normal structured program, some bench pressing and stuff like that, will not make you look. Definitely not. The diet that you will have to put in to achieve that physique is not like common. Because those people are prepared athletic standards. You got some people doing like CrossFit and stuff like that, and As people get caught up with seeing females with like abs and stuff like that, those athletes are incredible. The work that they put in to do it. You more or less, unless you want to do, you more or less are not going to go through it. So all my ladies squats and the sit-ups and one neat waist and ties, please pick up the curling bar, do some upper body exercises, do some push-ups, do some bench press. You will not. It doesn't happen to touch a bar and then poof, you turn into a mill.
So true.
It's biologically like.
I know, and you've always said it all the time. You know, it's a whole body approach.
Correct.
If you just focus on one piece, then you Charlie Bravo.
Correct. You don't want any Johnny Bravos. Give your body the gift of lifting. Absolutely that. Now, so we're going to talk about the last thing was how do you diet when you're when you're traveling, you're going and you're thinking about starting this new diet. I'm here to tell you, do not do that.
Really?
Yeah, do not do that. I'm a firm believer in that, and I've heard this on Instagram recently with another, and he was basically saying that your diet that you're going to apply for your workout needs to be reflected in your daily life. Right? Now, the two are synonymous, but people kind of separate the two. People think that, okay, well, I don't want to lose a couple pounds, I don't want to do this keto diet, let me go and do this diet that's super exciting, deficit, and then you can't maintain it because it doesn't reflect the 10,000 hours of your daily life. The two need to go hand in hand, guys. You need to have something that self-sustains, or not you're just setting out yourself for a mental issue, you're setting out yourself a failure, and just overall being overwhelmed. Start with small decisions. If you decide that you're traveling, you want to do something, very small decisions. So, like some of my clients who I know who are now starting, I tell them, well, instead of getting, you're going to get a burger. I mean, I eat burgers sometimes. If you're going to get a burger, if you're going to get a burger, if you're going to get some type of fast food or something like that, maybe start small. Maybe try having your in a ramekin or something that you can control how much goes. If you're going to get a burger, try getting a burger with faulty fries. Start with very small decisions before you decide, okay, you know what, I'm just doing 180 with my entire life and end up doing something that might ultimately, depress you because it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard to make those decisions. So you need to put in your 10,000 hours. I know we're talking about with 10,000 hours. You got to put in your practice, and it takes time to work that into your lifestyle. So the two are synonymous. So
don't do drastic changes to your diet.
Correct.
In that way, gradually move in or out of your particular diet.
Correct.
That's the whole point.
Correct.
By withdrawing little bits and pieces at a time. And I've started to do that. I mean, I've cut back dramatically on the amount of sugar I would have consumed.
Yeah, people don't
and
realize.
It still tastes good.
Yeah, people don't realize. It will taste good. Sugar is not a huge I have not used sugar in stuff like my oats and stuff like that for years now, and I don't particularly miss it.
Correct.
And we especially when it comes to soft drinks, I'm sorry, but if I had within my power, I would eliminate soft drinks from the face of this earth.
No, don't go so far. Don't go so far too fast.
It's
slow that one down.
So what, just put it in perspective.
Yes,
we just talk about the Heart Stroke Foundation and stuff like
Understood.
that. The amount of sugar that you guys consume, it's a little much.
Yes.
Well, it's too much.
Yeah, so just reduce as you go to the
point
where we become the you.
You're talking about sometimes 40 to 50 grams of sugar per soft drink.
Yeah.
So, and that's just your casual. So if you decide to do something that might be lighter, right? You have alternatives. You can do something like maybe like a Schweppes, something like a Coke Zero, anything like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But we'll get there eventually one day. Thorne, we gotta go. You see the time for yourself.
Yeah, I see the time. I see the time.
Rolls, right? Folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining. Remember, you can send your emails to califate246@gmail.com. We'll be able to bust those myths for you. We're back tomorrow should God spare life. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Wake up.